7:34 on Thursday, July 26, 2018. It's your daily Forex trading strategy session. I was scheduled to take my son on a roller coaster today at the amusement park, but I'm too sick for that. However, I'm not too sick for you, so I am here, but I am slow. So I apologize. Anyways, let me remind you that trading is risky, not appropriate for everyone. Your past performance, good or bad, is not necessarily indicative of future results. Please stay small, stay humble, focus on the long term, and never risk money you cannot afford to lose. My name is Wayne. I've been trading currencies for a very long time, 15 years, I think, pretty close. In any case, I'm here to help. That's what it comes down to. I'm with TradersWay, and we want you to succeed. That's it. So if you like someone that cares about you, if you like an organization that will succeed at sea, so they're kind of investing into you up front, then visit TradersWay.com and open an account today and join the TW family. So you can throw your diamonds in the sky. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So I haven't slept in days and days and days, but you know what? That's what currency traders do, so who cares? All right, so let's get going. We have ECB day, which means at 7:45, the ECB is going to announce they're not going to do anything new. And then at 8:30, Draghi's not going to give any more clues on when they're going to actually think about maybe raising interest rates. So none of that's going to happen today, except all of the nothing. I guess all of that not happening will happen. I propose we just kind of ignore it, and I go through as many charts as I possibly can before I run out of energy, and we'll just call it a day. What do you stink? Smell like a plan? And if you're wondering why I think the ECB will do absolutely nothing today in today's meeting, it's because if you've ever been to Europe in the summer, Europeans are incapable of working. It's a violation of the law of nature. So ain't nothing happening over there. Martin is like, sure is. Nature abhors working in the summer. So anyways, so let's just do that. So we'll start with the euro dollar. This is a 4-hour chart. And this is kind of funny because we we talked about something like this, not predicted, just talked about it. There was a setup at one point. We broke this down on multiple time frames to get down to here on a 4-hour chart, on a 1-hour chart, a 15-minute chart, and there's all the fractal geometry. But then we talked about one of these things like, yeah, this is a perfect setup because this is exactly where bears are supposed to sell and they sold. But this is also exactly where bulls are supposed to buy and they bought. So I have no clarity. I have no idea what direction this will go. This could go either direction. And the funny thing is, this time of year, very often it goes in no direction. So you should probably be, stick to your bias or stop trading or whatever. And the funny thing is, we just simply went back to the old resistance and that held again, and those guys sold, and we're just moving sideways. Now, the funny part of that is we did talk about it, which is cool. The second thing is I don't mention it, this type of thought process, any time of the year besides this time of the year. So it's just kind of funny. You're like, classic. So if you stuck to your guns and sold and then took some profit or whatever, great. Or maybe you sold a second time, or maybe you left your stop near break even and you're still in it, or the other way around. You could have bought it here. But this is where you're supposed to sell if you're a bear. This is where you're supposed to buy if you're a bull. And besides that, nothing happened. No chart. Still loading your screens. Really? you guys see my charts? Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Sorry, Toby. Try hopping down, up and down on your left leg while spinning in circles 4 times, and then log out and log back in. That always works. Yeah. Unless you're right-legged, then you get, no, unless you're left-legged, then you should do that on your right leg. But it's just, okay. Let me turn the drawing tool off. Great. So a big nothing. Will ECB break that? Yeah, you know what? An ECB meeting could break that. Their lack of saying something interesting, or maybe they will say something interesting. You may recall, oh, I don't know how many years ago it was, 6 years, maybe 8 years. I'll say 6 years. 6 years ago today, Draghi said he'll do whatever it takes to save the euro. That was a very important moment on a day where there's not supposed to be anything important happening. But those were special, unique times. It was the end of the currency. So that, I suppose that was appropriate. But think about it now, like how many senior people have taken vacation at the ECB, just the ECB? How many senior people, right? So like, it's just, you know, interns running around, right? With USA GDP, well, the thing with GDP is everybody already knows what it's going to be, right? They have a reasonable, right? Well, what you do is go back over the last 3 months and look at all the consumption data, right? And then go back and look at all the investment. And then go back and look at government spending, for example. And you can get a reasonable idea of whether GDP is going to be good or bad. I mean, we already have the data. You just have to plug it into the formula, and it spits out a number. So 4.8 sounds hot. But whatever. So I don't think it's going to like change everything, Craig. Okay. Because it's so backward looking, right? Yeah, well, yeah, Charles says that's the Trump rumor. Well, I don't pay attention to any of that, so it doesn't exist for me. I don't even, yeah, I'm not there. Sorry. Here's one where we talked about it, and I wasn't sure. I think that's fair to say. We knew we were here. We knew there was a pretty reasonable possibility it heads back up. Okay. And I said I would be very cautious. I mean, you could sell this, and I think someone was selling this. We talked about it. I'm like, okay, I get it. This is a little better for me to do that trade. But to sell here, if you're already bear after this ginormous retracement, I get it. I totally get it. Just make sure your stop's above here. This is the sell zone. You know, it's a proper trade. I'm just, because of all of this and the time of year, I'm just a lot less confident in that certainty, right? Do you guys remember all of that? So you could do it, but, you know, it's, I don't know. Then the next part was, wouldn't this be better? Or if this had moved all the way, I wouldn't buy it until it clearly broke and then went this way, right? So this is sort of the next trade that you should be setting up now if you're a bear. But here's the interesting thing, based on the move that actually occurred. Remember, I was just saying I had less confidence in it than I typically do. But nonetheless, whoever took it, the move here predicts that. Now, don't you think it's interesting that the trading theory I teaches you predicts that bottom? And then if we click in a bit, right, for 20 hours, we didn't go more than one pip below that number, 130.27. It wasn't like 130.000 or 130.10 or 133 or 130.30. It went down to 127, maybe 126, once, twice, three times in a 20-hour period. And now it kind of looks like it's trying to make higher highs. I mean, if I told you draw the oscillator, draw stochastics, it'd be fairly easy, right? Because it was falling, now it's turning, and now it's broken back into the trade zone and it's making higher highs and it's not making lower lows. So you know the oscillator is now cycling up. Okay, but I think that what it does for me, what I'm trying to share with you, is it may build confidence in your psyche that the tools you're using work. I think it's important to have confidence in your tools and your strategies, right? So what I teach you is if you're a bear, this area right here is your sell zone. And if you sell in there, you're only going to get to here. Cool. Right on. Well, having confidence in your tools and your strategies is very important. So even if you're not on the trade, there's more than reasonable reasons for you not to be on the trade. But nonetheless, that is a valid trade. That is cool. It's just not trending down, but you could still be a bear. Okay. So it should strengthen your armor, anyways. You know, I think it'll be more interesting today than the ECB. Let's see. Oh, it hasn't updated. So this is going to be more interesting. Okay. Facebook dropped 25% overnight. It just hasn't hit the open market yet in New York. Yeah, look at this. Pre-market, it's suggesting a 20% drop. Sure, I'm happy to do Bitcoin. So it hasn't happened yet, but look at that. In the pre-market, it's current down 20%. Really? So if it continues, it could get very interesting. Yeah, I've had worse days than that. All right. So that's going to be, I think, more important than the ECB today. Well, I got better, John. I recovered. All right. Pig dog. All right, so all right, somebody requested Big Dog. Sure, Big Dog. Nothing's really changed since I last covered it a couple of days ago. This is last week's bottom. We covered this on Monday and Tuesday. There are several reasons for this bottom. Going back this way, also monthly and weekly pivots last week predict this to be a bottom. So guess what? It was a bottom. Then I think it was on Monday, I did the counter trade hammock setup for you guys. So we talked about that being a low. Monday was a high. So we set it up on Monday for a Tuesday trade for this kind of thing. We call that a hammock. And it should shoot up to, I don't know, this area. And after that, I don't really know. So it comes down to your filter. If you're going to look at it as a bull, you're going to want to look at a roll reversal here. Okay. I would just simply suspect that all this area is going to be a problem, but nonetheless, if you're a bear, I don't know if it's a great spot to sell, but there's multiple ways you could kind of do this. You could try to like fib this, but this doesn't seem like it would work. There's no real monthly pivot all about here. The weekly pivot you got, so, but you don't typically sell M3 on Thursday. You sell M3 on Monday or Tuesday. So, I mean, but that's what's happening. But it seems to me, if I was a bull, I'd still be looking to buy that. But once again, is this trending? And it just still looks like this to me. And I think we did that on Monday. So the only thing on Monday, if you recall, we talked to something about that, and this looks like closer to the bottom, and maybe if you're lucky, it heads back up into here. Okay. Then I believe on Tuesday we jumped up to the daily, and we saw daily 21 up there, right? But that was the only sort of reason you could have sold, I guess, yesterday or the day before. But I wasn't that excited about it. But if you had to, that's a reasonable reason. Okay. Also, I tend to try to value the 21 a lot more in situations like this than situations like this. So it seems like it could still stretch its neck up this high, right? And then try falling. Oil, same thing. To me, it's just bouncing around the range. This was last week's scalp, I guess, is the only thing really to talk about. We scalped oil inventories. I set this up as a bottom, a breakout, a pullback, 1, 2, 3 hammock off the roll reversal, 50%. We did on a 1-minute chart, if you recall. We actually took it on a 1-minute chart. The target was here. And we're still at that price a week later. It's funny, huh? This is what happens this time of year. You just have to assume ranges are going to hold. We've had quite a few that held. Pretty cool though, that you could still do this on a 1 minute chart and still get pretty reasonable accuracy. I thought I heard the captain's voice. But not a lot of reason to get super excited. The the other sort of theme we talked about last week, is maybe it works its way up to a right shoulder. But that would point to bad macroeconomic news, and it's not something that I want, but of course could happen. Aussie yen, another one we talked about, probably will stay in the range and will stay in the range forever and ever and ever and ever and ever until it breaks. Okay. Well, imagine how much time and pain I've saved you. Over a week of doing this, right? It's important to know sort of the seasonality of the global markets and adjusting your expectations so you don't really go mad, right? Which is important, right? Maintaining your sanity. So last week we had an R1 S1 week, and we haven't even done that this week. This is not a good buy. This is not a good sell. There's nothing nice about this. There's no monthly pivot. There's no weekly pivot. It's just a giant stinky pile of gobbledygook. Okay. Gold. This week, if you had to be a bear, you didn't get the world's greatest entry, but it was something. If you sold here, your target's way down below us at M1. So what you're thinking is down, up, and down. If you're a bull, you do like buying at M2, but not typically on Wednesday or Thursday. You typically want to buy at M2 down Monday or Tuesday, right? So, yeah, I think this can fall a little further. Sure. It doesn't say dramatically. It doesn't dramatically say up now. The only thing that says up is if you're taught to buy at that price. But is it too little, too late? I don't know. Pay attention. I mean, if it pops up and double bottoms, that's your call. Tomorrow, you'll probably have an opportunity to front run this if you want to buy gold, but that means dollar's going to fall. So it just really comes down. Raymond says, have you noticed this kind of seasonality over in the entirety of my trading? Yeah, yeah. Osmosis. So hopefully these are just setting up for next week, right? So we've essentially achieved the target, USD yen, for the week. there's no trade, but we hit a nice bottom. Nothing has still happened. Still nothing has happened. So S1 is not typically a good buy. I think when we talked about this on Monday, we were hoping to keep it above this gray area. Didn't quite get that, but it hasn't quite dropped either. You know, again, doesn't make me want to invest. Not really playing the pivots. No real entry on the weekly. Not a lot of excitement to make a trade. I don't see free money there or easy money. Here's another S pivot. S pivots mean sideways. Means the trend is dead. Here you're out of position, so one of the things you're hoping to do, I think we talked about this. If it wasn't this one, it was a different currency pair. But when you open out a position, what you're trying to do is sell off the moving averages, in particular the 4-hour 21. There's still some hope for that. But as you can see, as a trading opportunity, it's mediocrity at best, huh? But I hope these underlying things we talked about days ago are now clicking through, where we analyze the quality of the opportunities we were looking at. And I was pretty ho-hum about them, and they've turned out to be ho-hum opportunities. So, you know, what was the lesson there, right? Here's the big one we've talked about quite a bit, right? Typically, this would be a sell. You probably got a position on this one, so typically you try to sell up here. That didn't even work out. Looks like the bottom turned out to be the S pivot turned out to be the bottom, which means we're supposed to stay within a range. So now you have a little bit of vulnerability here if you're a bear, that it does that. If you're a bull, then leaving that other stuff up there, what you saw was this. And so if you're a bull, maybe you try buying dips, but ultimately you're only going to get here. And beast. And we're just flopping around. Okay, there's no fantastic. Oops, I killed something I didn't mean to kill, but we'll find that. So, anyways, it's not the greatest bottom to be buying. I mean, it's bad. It's not horrific, but it's bad. We got a little bit of a monthly pivot here, so that's helpful. The moving averages on the 4-hour have not rolled over yet. I mean, what do you have to play on this if you're a bull? Are you calling that a higher high, higher low? It seems a little painful, doesn't it? So let me leave you with one last message. Go for a week or two or three like this, and I think we're really only on, this is probably the first week of real quietness. We might get another week or two. This is when people sort of either lose a lot of money because they overtrade and they're expecting normal market reactions when it's not a normal market, so you end up overtrading. So promise yourself you're not going to lose a lot of money in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But at the same time, you should also really focus on the second half of the year, um, and prepare for the fall. Okay? Because I think even though the next 2 or 3 weeks might not be great weeks, I don't know if they will or not be. Sometimes they're great weeks, sometimes they're not. But look what happened this week on pound yen. Here's what happened this week. Okay, not that dramatic. Now, if it's dramatic, you probably lost money, and so we don't want drama. Don't be a drama llama, right? So anyway, some people make it a horrific week. Please don't do that. But I also, in the next few weeks, I expect to be setting up trades that should inevitably turn out to be fantastic. Okay? And have your mind prepared for that. Look at these markets like you're preparing, not like you're just throwing down a bunch of trades, but you're preparing. And if you don't typically look at longer term charts, maybe now you look at longer term charts. Okay. Another thing that people tend to do is they go through a period like this, they lose a bunch of money, nothing happens, so they go ultra conservative, and they rarely trade, and then the market takes off, and for 2 or 3 weeks they still don't trade. Okay, and the market takes off, moves 300 pips without them, and then what happens? They start trading again, and the market retraces and lose a bunch of money again. So change your behavior this year. Okay, look at this as a quiet period, but also prepare yourself mentally and emotionally that a wave is coming. Don't know when, but it's coming. Okay, so instead of becoming gun shy because you threw down a bunch of lousy trades, let's avoid the lousy trades now because we're preparing, and then more importantly, get ready to pounce. Okay, so right now keep low in the grass and wait for big game. All right. So peace on earth. May the pips be with you. May your profits be above average. I apologize that I've been sick all week. Yeah, it sucks for me too. So I apologize and thank you for your patience. I will see you tomorrow. Thank you again for being on my team, and thank you very much for being a client of TradersWay. See you tomorrow.